right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Sports Den, the podcast. Well, it's right around roughly maybe a little later than midseason for the NFL. So it is time for midseason rankings. It's always a fun thing. We can look and figure out where we were wrong, who we were right about, see how things have changed as the season progresses. So we're going to kind of jump right into it. We've got Kyle and Jonathan here with us today. How you guys doing?
Doing great. How are you?
Good.
Both of us with that new dad life, recent babies. So no sleep.
I get sleep. I mean, I get to go to bed when I want, and I get to wake up when I want. So, but yeah. Anyway, we're gonna go on. We're gonna jump right into our list. We're gonna jump in with. Let's start with the rookies. Let's start with the kids. So we've got Offensive Rookie of the Year. Who do we have there? Who's your Rookie of the Year there, Kyle?
I know this is going to sound like a homer pick being from the state of Oregon, but please do remember that I'm a Beaver fan and not a Duck fan. But it's Justin Herbert. I have just been blown away with the work that he has done. He is putting up stats that we haven't seen rookies do. And the only downside with Justin Herbert is that he plays for the Chargers. The Chargers have an innate ability to do Charger things and lose games that they should win. And it is not Herbert's fault. There was obvious concerns when he came to the NFL, and me being a Pac-12 guy and being an in-state rival, he really at times did not look like a player who was worthy of having this level of draft status. But he's proved every NFL scout right, and he's done a great job. Before 2 weeks ago, it was Joe Burrow, Mr. Burrow himself. Joe had done a pretty good job, obviously. Other guy I really like is Justin Jefferson, the wide receiver at, Sean's Vikings. Also very, very solid. But when you're talking about who gets these awards and just the role that a quarterback plays on a team, Justin Herbert, for me, is the offensive Rookie of the Year. He has done an incredible job with the team that was rebuilding. And if he should be thanking his stars that medical staff tried to kill Tyrod.
I think he just I think Justin put a lab coat on and stabbed Tyrod in the lungs is what happened.
I got you, bud. I can help you. Boom. And
I took athletic training in college. It's fine. It's cool.
Yeah. I will argue for Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow's done more with a worse roster. And they're actually a little bit more. I think the team is more competitive when it wasn't all that good. We've seen them pull out some really good wins, and the Chargers are doing Chargers things and struggling to win. But so I have Joe Burrow number 1 and then Herbert number 2. But quick shout out to a couple of guys. You said Justin Jefferson. This is a great year for receivers. Quick shout out to CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy as well. So,
I've got Herbert. I've got Herbert as 1, and my biggest thing on that, I mean, when in a lot of my picks, there's a combination of little stuff where I'm trying to kind of pick guys that I think it will be, in addition to guys I think deserve it. And I think the league wants another star in Los Angeles. And how do you put a star in Los Angeles? More than if you can give a guy a big award, give a guy a big award like that. That's a no-brainer. Again, and I'm not saying he's not going to deserve it. No, I think he's been fantastic, and amazing. All the guys that I do have, I think the league will make some kind of a claim on. I really think there is legitimate reason to put that person in those spots, but I just think that puts it just enough. I think Jeudy has been a really, really fantastic. I mean, when he wasn't supposed to be the number 1 coming into the year, and congratulations, kid, you're the number 1 now. Oh, and by the way, your quarterback is also learning because for all intents and purposes, he is also a rookie. Don't forget that. Like, even though he doesn't count,
he is number 2. He is number 2 in most turnover possible plays by quarterbacks.
He's not played a full season yet. Kid's not, and he's had, and the other side of it, I mean, it is not like
he's missed games and he's number 2.
He's missed games, but he's also had to play from comeback. So when you're having to play from a comeback a lot, you also start chucking the ball a little bit different. But this is not a Drew Lock defense podcast. It's not
because he's not defensible.
He's literally a rookie. Like, he's yet to play a full season. You don't deserve. You don't have an idea how bad it was. Like, Elway was not good for a number of years. Peyton Manning was horrible. Statistically had a lot of issues that first year. Right, you gotta have some patience with quarterbacks. Just because new guys go off right away, there's still some patience. Relax, calm down, simmer. But Jerry Jeudy, that's the point. There was Jerry Jeudy is fantastic, and I've been really, really impressed, and I'm really happy. I was really happy when Denver drafted him, and I'm still really, really happy that we still drafted him. We're going to go to defensive rookie of the year.
There's a couple really good ones out there. You've got Patrick Queen, who's doing incredible work in Baltimore. You've got Chase Young, who's living up to his billing for being the potential defensive rookie of the year. But the guy, it's a little off, but he's really picking up steam, and I like him a lot, is Julian Blackmon, the safety at the Colts. The increase that he's been seeing in his snaps, he started out the first 3 games only playing about 60% of the defensive snaps. And then they changed him, and now he's up to 95 to 100% of the snaps, and he is validating those stats. He is doing an incredible job for a Colts team that is QB'd by Phillip Rivers. And I know that there are other parts of that defense that are adjusting to it. Safeties, stats, are reflective of everything because you're so far back. You're not a frontline guy. Your defensive tackles, your edges, those guys can do great stats because it's just them and the linemen up front. And the safeties, to get their stats, need additional helps via schemes or coverages being blown. There is more that happens there, but he is playing at a fantastic rate. The other 2 guys, they're also great. Chase Young is doing everything that you wanted him to do. Will he probably win the award? Yeah. Also, for some of the reasons Ben mentioned, you want your classic teams to have the person win the award. And in Indianapolis,
especially with the rebrand there.
Correct. You've got the rebrand going on. You've got problems that have happened. You've got the story of Ron Rivera going through chemo. Like there's a lot of things happening in Washington where they want to win. And Chase Young is giving them a lot of that. If he wins the award, not going to be upset at all. This is a little bit of a pick, from the outskirts, but I love what he does and the way he plays and the impact that he has on the field. So that's mine. The other 2, I get it and wouldn't have a problem. Maybe I'm just a sucker being a Bucs fan. You grow up rooting for John Lynch. You've always got a soft spot in your heart for safeties. So that's it. That's my pick.
I would pick Patrick Queen. But I think Chase Young will win it. Just like with on the offensive side, I would pick Joe Burrow, but I think Herbert's going to win it. One guy who has not played a whole lot because they can't figure out if they want him to be a linebacker or a safety, but looks really good to me is Isaiah Simmons. I wish they would figure out what position they want to put him at and just go with it. I think it would be better for him. But he's shown some really good flashes on that defensive side of the ball.
Chase Young. That's it. I was looking at this position. I can see you just throw a few guys out here at this one. No one is jumping off. No one is really jumping out like we've had in years past. There, other years where some guys just go off and, oh my goodness, this guy. I don't think any of these guys, okay, Pro Bowl is always a weird thing because who all gets there? I don't think any of these guys is a Pro Bowler this year. But I think,
especially this year because there's no replacements with it all being virtual.
Yeah, like it just kind of, and even then, these guys would be further down even on the list, even if there wasn't other sides. But we'll go on to comeback player of the year. So this is always a fun one for me, or when I was doing a little bit of this, I had to remember who was hurt last year. It took a minute before I'm like, who didn't play last year? Who got hurt at some points and I feel like there was less injuries last year because no one jumped out at me. I actually the guy I picked as player, I totally forgot he got hurt last year.
Last year was the year of the backup quarterback, but all the starting quarterbacks pretty much came back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got one clear guy. You took a look at it, and it's there in the standings. I don't even mind going first. So I created a list of 3 for most every other one. But when I hear comeback player of the year, the only possible option in my mind is Ben Roethlisberger. The ability and what he brings to the table to get, a relatively similar Steelers team that missed the playoffs to being 9-0. And some of that is also because you're undefeated. When you hit this point in the season and your team has not lost, you start ranking up in award categories left and right. You're going to see a couple other Steelers on the list a little later on. But it's Ben Roethlisberger. He took what Mason failed to do and improved. And then, the guy who's probably out there working for Waste Management who replaced Mason Rudolph, he's probably still on the team, but it just not pretty with the quarterback situation last year with the Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger, getting them 9-0, it's simple. The leadership he brings back, it's Ben.
Just some other names out here because I don't disagree. Just throwing some other names out here. Teddy Bridgewater and Cam Newton playing well except for the 1 week where he really had some bad COVID stuff and then missed with COVID. And then if we're talking about best comeback story, it's not Big Ben. It's Alex Smith. That man wasn't supposed to walk again.
Yeah.
I'll give you Alex Smith's story is incredible. If this was just Hallmark comeback, it's Alex Smith. But you have to do more than just have a great story. And it is fantastic to see him on the field, but you got to win.
Yeah.
Alex Smith. So here's one thing. So I don't have Ben in this other position, but if Ben wins MVP, he doesn't win comeback player of the year. The NFL is pretty good at not doubling up guys. So, and if he doesn't win MVP, he's winning comeback player, which I could easily see that being that's kind of what I have going. But if he does win MVP, I think Alex Smith will be the guy just because that story. Again, he will deserve it. I think there are others that will deserve it ahead. Another guy that I completely forgot about, AJ Green. It's another guy that he missed all of last year too. Now, granted,
he's missed a lot of catches this year.
He's missed a lot, but he's got a rookie quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a good rookie quarterback. One thing that has shocked me this year too, and I know we just did the rookies. Everyone predicted that the rookies would start out doing awful because there was no training camp due to COVID, and the play of offensive and defensive rookies, even though the defensive ones aren't jumping off like Ben said to be Pro Bowls, you are not seeing that level of drop off with the rookies, especially on the offensive side. People were predicting this was going to be devastating for rookie quarterbacks. And, it's just AJ Green is, I I mean, he's not doing bad, but he is not AJ Green of old.
As someone who has had him and dropped him on fantasy, I mean, I agree. Like, I added him. It's like, yes, sweet. I got him in the late rounds. 2 weeks later, all right, I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw him up, let him try the waiver wire for a little bit. But I guess in that case, we're going to go on to Offensive Player of the Year.
Can I cry?
Yep.
I mean, how do you have any tears left over this? Like,
the more I watch D-Hop single-handedly win games when David Johnson is on IR because everyone knew David Johnson would be on IR, just makes me so sad. I know we're not going to talk Executive of the Year, but Bill O'Brien should win it for being the best executive for the Cardinals and the Dolphins this year. Like, seriously, it's sad. But other things, Derrick Henry is awesome. I think he deserves some love there. But I actually don't think D-Hop wins it because I think Alvin Kamara is going to win it. I feel like the story will be Alvin Kamara rather than D-Hop.
I don't disagree. I like all the guys that you listed. I am also with Ben, though. I think they're going to split up how they do MVP and Offensive Player of the Year. My guess for Offensive Player of the Year is Russell Wilson. With what he is doing with that team, and the fact that he is leading the NFL in passing yards because he has to. I mean, when you've got DJ Dallas as your starting back for 2 weeks in a row, that's brutal. That defense is beyond poor. It requires him to be.
I mean, Carlos Hyde being your.
Yeah.
I mean, Carlos Hyde being your week 1 guy is not good.
No, and the fact that he is cooking to the level that he's cooking and delivering in a pretty competitive division as well. Russell Wilson has it. However, DeAndre Hopkins is 1B. I love the fact that you couldn't get a first-round pick for him. That is my favorite part of the trade. You couldn't even get a first for the guy who's going to win the Offensive Player of the Year. It was one of the worst, most lopsided trades.
I seriously think the city of Houston should sue Bill O'Brien for pain and suffering.
It will always go back to one, like, there are bad trades, but you can at least, like, see, you know what? You were wrong, and you were always going to be wrong, but I saw what you were doing. Like, the Herschel Walker trade we always describe as, it's the worst trade ever.
But that didn't look that bad in retrospect at the beginning.
Like, it's the worst trade. We see it like, you know what? We can look at it and be like, I really don't like what you did here, but I kind of see what you were trying to do here. Didn't work out. It's awful and horrible. And I'm one person, I try to give, especially coaches, the benefit of the doubt. I don't like firing coaches.
Burn them down. Get rid of all of them.
Like, I like giving people time. It's coaching in the pros is very difficult. I don't like firing general managers. Like, it takes time to build stuff up. So I try to really play devil's advocate and look for some of the reasons why something happened.
This was pettiness.
We're how many months away? And I can't find a single thing. But like, it's even like from
he had an argument with him at practice, and then turned around and traded him for nothing.
You still trade him for a first.
Bill O'Brien did it to feel petty. And he made multiple moves to feel petty, and that's why he is on the street right now.
But
very nice street with gates around his house. He's not exactly on the street. He's still got fantastic compensation for destroying your team.
I know it's not fair.
Back on topic here. I
should go to prison.
I also have D-Hop winning Offensive Player of the Year. A big reason I have him winning Offensive Player of the Year, I think he's been the story, and I can say this from looking here in Phoenix. Everyone's really, really excited about Kyler Murray. Without D-Hop, Kyler Murray. Okay, we've been through this. Unlike other people here, I do like the future that Locke brings the Broncos. I'm not giving up on that. But Kyler Murray is much closer to Locke without D. Hopkins this year. I might be with maybe better rushing yards. I don't think he's that much better. I remember watching other games. He makes weird throws and misses a lot, but he has D Hop to save him. We didn't get a chance to talk about it. That Hail Mary, the great play. Okay, it worked, and I give him it worked. But objectively, it was the dumbest possible play that he could have possibly made. You had time for 2 plays. He waited up. He used up all of the time. There were time for 2 plays. He used it up all. And then he threw the ball in triple coverage and just said, "Someone please catch it." Well, D-Hop caught it. It wasn't the right move, maybe from Murray's perspective. But D-Hop made it totally fine. It's cool. I will.
When you have D-Hop, it's the right move. When you have Brandon Cooks, it's not.
Yeah. It's like lob passes. If you're throwing it down low to Shaq to dunk it, that's a good play anytime. Anytime that the ball is going up, there are obviously concerns with Kyler Murray, and you saw that even on that play. The moment that he loses that extra half second of speed that got him away from the defender who was going to sack him, he's sacked. Mm-hmm. It's problematic. And then you turn from being an extremely athletic guy who's really 5'9" and a half, not whatever he's listed on the website. He's going to have problems seeing over the line. So enjoy this Kyler Murray while you've got it.
Kyler Murray couldn't see over the line after he threw the ball. He threw the ball, then had to turn around and look at the Jumbotron.
But so, yeah.
Look at the play again. He threw the ball, then had to turn around and look at the Jumbotron to see if D-Hop caught it.
So I think he does cost some MVP areas. I think he saves it. He won't win MVP because this is the NFL.
Yeah.
There's only one position. Maybe occasionally, if a running back does something stupid, they might be able to go for it. But there's only one position that can win MVPs in the NFL. So we're going to go on.
Who was the last non-QB to win MVP? Was Peterson? Yeah, and he was 9 yards from the
record.
The year, which was weird because that was, I'm again slightly Homer thing, and we might edit this part out, but from a slightly Homer perspective, that was the year Manning went off and just redefined what it meant to play quarterback and offense, and just because oh no, he did this weird thing that no one really does anymore. He gets the MVP.
He deserved it.
I mean, I can't fault it. I'm going to get 2,000 yards. If you rush for 2,000 yards, you're going to get it. But
you don't get to complain about people outside of the quarterback getting it, and then also argue that old man Manning deserved to get it when Adrian Peterson did something that you never see. That's silliness.
We never saw people do what Manning did. Anyway, we're going to edit that part out. Edit that part out, Jonathan.
No, I'm leaving it in.
We're going to go on to Coach of the Year. So who do you have for Coach of the Year?
Well, it's a 2-horse race in my book. I've got my dark horse out there. 1A, 1B, depends on the final standings. It's Andy Reid, Mike Tomlin. Those two guys are doing incredible things. Obviously, you get a long ways being undefeated. You don't get to ignore that. But the Chiefs outscoring people by, forgive me, I need to double check, roughly around 100. It's incredible. And the way that they're doing it is not just Mahomes chucking the ball. There's been some games where their strategy's been so good that Mahomes hasn't even played the fourth quarter. The job that Andy Reid and Mike Tomlin are doing is fantastic. Now, the other dark horse person, they were predicted to win 7 games for the whole year across Vegas. And what John Gruden has gotten these Raiders to do is really good. And not just the fact that they get to play against the AFC West. They are still 2-1 against the NFC. And they're doing solid work even against non-AFC West opponents as well. So they are doing much better than predicted. However, Andy Reid and Mike Tomlin are just so far ahead that John Gruden over-exceeding expectations gets you mentioned, but it never gives you the award.
If this was about actually making the most out of your team and what coach actually has the most effect on how their team plays, it would be Mike Vrabel or Brian Flores. But this will go to Andy Reid or Mike Tomlin. But Brian Flores and Mike Vrabel are, in my opinion, the two coaches that are actually having the biggest effect on how their team plays.
I like all of those, and I mean, I definitely agree. It's hard to ignore those other spots, but those are two guys who have been there before. And I feel like the coach of the year thing is the NFL doesn't like to give it to guys who are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Now, yes, you go undefeated, you're going to win it, but this is what we expected from Andy Reid this year. Like, that's not, you don't, whether it should be the case or not, I don't feel like coach of the year goes to someone who meets expectations. Even when expectations are super high, you don't get coach of the year for meeting expectations. So I think I've got Cliff Kingsbury actually as my number one, just because it kind of goes back to the other thing of even people here in Arizona we knew we were going to be better. They just didn't actually think Arizona was actually going to be winning. Like, they're really excited. Like, man, we're really stoked to lose 31-34. Like, we're really excited to lose a lot of games 31-34. It's going to be fun. And then next season, we're going to be ready to go. And we're ready to go. And that was even after the D-Hop trade. So it wasn't like that much. I mean, that was not the expectation going in. So that's why I've got him. Sean McDermott, I also want to throw in there for sake of Brent, but I mean, he's continuing to build, and that's also a side of, he's somewhat meeting expectations as well, but the process is building. That's what happens when you trust a coach and let a coach like build stuff. Things may have some issues before it builds and you get good.
Here's my trade-off, and I don't want to pick on Brian too much. The Bills are 7-3. They are 4-4. Or 4-0 against their division. And they are exactly 500 against everybody else. They are in one of the worst divisions. It is a step above the NFC East. And they're the only real team in that division. And so, yes, they are winning. But when you look at the scope of it, you're playing 500 football against teams that are real.
I would argue getting to play the Jets twice should automatically disqualify you from the playoffs.
Yeah, but Belichick and Brady.
No, but McDermott's really good. Brian sent us a message at one point that McDermott, in the time he's been coaching, when in games they have the lead going into the second half, he's like 24-2. And both losses, D-Hop was playing for the other team.
Yeah, he's done a good he's done a good job. But
now, Sean too. One more Sean just to plug. Sean McVay, offensive guru, now turning in the second best points allowed defense in the NFL. That says something too. I mean, yes, you've got Aaron Donald. So that
And
helps a
Jalen
lot.
Ramsey.
Helps. Ramsey's okay. Ramsey's name is bigger than the on-field production.
That's true. That's true.
But just the change up from being offensive guru, needing gun shootouts, being in a league of other really good offensive teams, to still have that points allowed being where it is when you're facing the likes of Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray, that says something.
So, speaking of those guys, we'll go ahead and go on to MVP, the big one. I've kind of hinted at mine, I guess. So I'll start on mine. I've kind of hinted. I've got Russell Wilson as the MVP. This goes back to kind of what I said before. Is I believe he is a deserving MVP. But I remember a bunch of things that we were told at the beginning of the season every single time the Seahawks played. Now I do see and hear a lot of Seahawks because most of my friends here are Seahawks fans. So I do hear a lot of Seahawks talk. But one phrase kept coming up. Russell Wilson has never won an MVP award. Like, think about the years and how good he's been and everything he's done. He's never won an MVP. I think because they're actually saying that and talking about that on national broadcasts and other broadcasts, if they can give it to him this year, I think they're going to want to give it to him.
I think another one in that vein ticked off Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers has been doing great. Devonta Adams is leading everyone in touchdowns. It would be remarkable if they had drafted Justin Jefferson.
My third pick. He was my third pick for Offensive Player of the Year. Adams was.
Yeah, and I almost wonder what would have happened if they had drafted like Justin Jefferson or one of those other receivers that's been doing really good, T. Higgins or someone, instead of a quarterback to replace Aaron Rodgers. But I think Patrick Mahomes deserves it the way they're playing. But if they keep up this record, I don't see a way where Big Ben doesn't win MVP. It's why I don't think he wins Comeback Player of the Year, because I think he wins MVP.
Yeah. I've got Mahomes just based off of field production and what the team does. The collective things that Mahomes brings is incredible, but they're not going to give it to him. He's young. He's got one already. The narrative of Russ not having one when he is one of your most marketable stars is limiting. As Ben mentioned, he hears about it. Ben is in Phoenix and they play in Seattle. That is the entire Western coast, the Western seaboard, that you hear about Seahawks. You cannot avoid them. They are everywhere and they own everything. And so it's 1A, 1B. Russell really is doing incredible things. It's tough. Ben going undefeated, that is something so rare that those guys get awards when they don't. Even though I don't always love certain divisions that they get to play in. Brady, as boring and as tiring as it is, has gotten a team that underachieved for a lot to still be 7-3. I don't have him on my list, but he will continue to he'll get some votes just because of who he is.
Yeah.
One thing I just got to say about Roethlisberger, I just pulled up his year stats. I mean, okay, as a team and from a team game, yes, they're undefeated and amazing and everything there. But as far as stats, and I always say numbers do lie, so they don't describe it, but he's 15th in the league this year in yards. He is 5th in touchdowns. He's tied for 7th fewest interceptions. He's 20th in QBR. It's one of those things that I like. It's one of those things I respect about the Steelers is they typically win on team game, like it's team ball. Like they don't we're less than any. And you take away 9-0, is that guy an MVP?
I don't think so. I will say this: we haven't talked about Defensive Player of the Year, but he's riding a really good defense to that.
Oh, we did skip Defensive Player of the Year.
A really, really good defense. There's probably two guys in my top 5 for Defensive Player on the Steelers defense.
I realize that position. Sorry.
Their offense is 7th best. Their defense is, for points scored, it's 7th best. Their defense is 3rd for points allowed at 171. The Steelers are just playing incredible football. And one of the things about the NFL that everyone says is that it is the ultimate team game. And when the team succeeds, the team gets rewarded. Even if there are moments where individuals from other teams are having better seasons, unless someone is really blowing it out, and we're talking, Russell Wilson throws for 6,500 yards with the neighborhood of 45 to 50 touchdowns, it would be hard for Russ to overtake Ben if they go undefeated.
Yeah. But did everyone get their MVP pick in? I think.
Yep.
Did you say your Jonathan? Okay. Cool. In that case, we're going to go to Defensive Player of the Year because I skipped it and forgot about it. I meant to end it on MVP but we went right over that. Defensive Player of the Year. Who do you guys got?
I have who I think deserves it and who I think will win it. Like, I think we've had several of these, which also, while we're thinking of offensive player, shout out to Dalvin Cook. You're not winning games, but you are putting up numbers. And so shout out to Dalvin Cook. Same thing. Shout out to Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett will win it. I don't think he should because it's not leading to winning games. Myles Garrett's putting up incredible stats, like unbelievable stats. But I don't think, like, you'd almost think he has a whole year of stats already, looking at his numbers. But I don't think he's the most important defender. I think it's Minkah Fitzpatrick. I think Minkah should have won this award last year, and he didn't. Because when you look at that defense was a bad defense. They traded for him, and then it was a good defense. Just with that. And it's been a good defense the whole time he's been here.
Go ahead, Cal.
Yeah. Obviously, you cannot ignore what Garrett's doing in Cleveland. The stats are nuts. And you say, though, that it doesn't translate to winning. It's really difficult when Baker is doing everything possible to help you lose the game. It is really problematic when your offensive guys go down. You can contribute everything you want. Just his sacks, his forced fumbles. It's incredible. He is a wrecking ball on defense and doing everything that you need a Defensive Player of the Year to do. You can't also ignore what Aaron Donald is doing. He is incredible. Just incredible. He's the reason that you can mention Sean McVay being able to play defense and not being looked at it, not laughing, because Aaron Donald is that powerful. There's a couple guys on the outskirts that, obviously, Mika is incredible. Is someone that, is on the West Coast. It would be beyond shocking to see what that Seahawks defense looked like without Bobby Wagner.
Oof.
Even for as long as he's been doing what he does, if you didn't have him, the wheels fall off that thing. There is no greater linchpin. If there was a better equivalent of like defensive most valuable player of the year instead of just overall, Wagner would win that very easily.
I think so.
I just don't want to discredit what he does, but Garrett he's going to win this award. And
I've got Garrett, and here's the reason I've got Garrett. Actually, the reason I've got Garrett, Jonathan, I know it's not literally because it's a background, is behind your head. Because that guy won Defensive Player of the Year awards while Von Miller was winning. And again, I'm not downplaying Watt's accomplishment. No, Watt did amazing, but while Von Miller was winning games, Watt won Defensive Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year doesn't care who wins. Defensive Player of the Year cares what are you doing? What are you showing up with? It's got to be Garrett, maybe Donald, but for those reasons, because it doesn't. It's weird that an award doesn't matter.
I am worried.
But go ahead.
I'm just saying I'm worried that if the Browns don't win more, I'm worried Garrett gets an attitude again.
Oh, very likely.
And I'm worried. I hope he doesn't, because I don't want to lose more games out of him. But it is a worry.
But all right, wow. So we're gonna go on to our last thing, so we can finish with a good amount of time here. Last little pick. Who's playing in the Super Bowl and who's gonna win?
Who you got, Jonathan?
Oh, I'm trying to think. If Breeze comes back, the NFC is wacky. No, you know what? No, I'm not gonna do Green Bay and Pittsburgh wins.
I really see, even if Breeze comes back, Green Bay looks to be about the only team that can both competently play on offense and defense. I don't love them. I think the NFC is really down this year. Green Bay is the team to get through. The AFC, I've got the Chiefs repeating. They're just that good. They are playing really, really well. Some of the advantages that you get when you're Pittsburgh is that you get to play in really cold weather.
That's true.
In Pittsburgh in playoff time. Well, the Chiefs aren't going to be bothered by that, because it is also really cold in Kansas City when it comes around winter season. So they both line up really well to play each other. And, this is all hypothetical too. If we get some type of crazy COVID thing, who knows? Who knows if we even get playoffs? We're hoping that we get the playoffs, but y'all wear masks. I really want to see the Chiefs and the Packers play again. I think that would be an exciting game.
I'm going with a little bit of story, but history reversing itself. I've got Pittsburgh and Seattle in the Super Bowl. I think Seattle finds some weird way of making it there, and Seattle wins a game they're not supposed to, just like Pittsburgh won a Super Bowl against Seattle that they weren't supposed to either. Because of, again, weirdness that goes through. Because if we have a Super Bowl that actually, I know it will be the 2021 Super Bowl, but for the 2020 season, if we have a nice definitive Super Bowl champion with no controversy and anything, I mean, what was the point of this entire year? Like, I need some weirdness out of my Super Bowl this year. So I've got Seattle beating Pittsburgh in a weird thing that makes Pittsburgh fans angry for the next 5 years.
I love seeing the 18-1 signs from all the Giants fans. If we got a Seattle equivalent of 18-1 as well, that would be fantastic too. To watch those unlikable Patriots get all the way up there and lose, because we have got Steeler fans. Steeler fans are flooding our social media after every single game, and if they lose, I will be happy. I would be happy to see all of Steelers Nation and their towel-waving friends just cry. That would be a great win for me.
And Big Ben is like the second least likable quarterback. Like, even now that Brady left, he's more likable than Ben and Baker. Like Big Ben and Baker are the two least likable quarterbacks in the NFL. And
It's still Brady. It's still Brady.
No, it's not Brady. Ben is easily one of the most unlikable. If Baker didn't do those State Farms, he's even more unlikable. But at least those commercials are really good. They brought
really
some
are.
likability to him. You couldn't put Ben in one of those type of commercials. There would be no appeal. It would be brutal.
Baker
anyway,
isn't good enough to have commercials is the annoying thing.
On that note, we're going to go ahead and call it off, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us, and have a good one. Bye.